We have a full agenda here for us today, so we're going to jump right in and start with introductions. I'm Dwayne Primo. I'm the president of Northern Business Intelligence, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Brian McIntosh. Brian.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Really glad to have everybody on board and look forward to our time together.
Wonderful. A few housekeeping items before we jump into the content for today. We do love to keep these sessions interactive. When we've had these in the past, folks have had great questions for us. We will ensure that we'll spend probably 20-30 minutes going through the content and the demonstration, maybe a bit more, but we'll allow time to answer all the questions that you have today. Please, through the session, enter those in the Zoom Q&A versus the chat. If you could, it helps us keep it straight. And then we will also distribute the questions and answers to all participants after the session. We'll be having a few interactive quizzes today through the Zoom feature of quizzes, so stay tuned for those. And everyone who's joined us here today will be entered for a win, entered to win one of 10 Yeti water bottles. This is our new branded water bottle and swag item for the year. Pretty excited about those ones, and pretty good odds for the folks on the webinar here today that you may be walking away with one of the Yeti water bottles. We always look for feedback, so we'll be sending out a survey following the webinar. Would really appreciate everyone taking the time to provide feedback via that survey. And of course, if there's any additional questions or you'd like more follow-up from the team here at NBI after the session, you can reach us in our Contact Us page on the website or through any of the contacts that we'll provide here today. So without further adu, let's jump into it. And the agenda today is we will start off with a bit of an overview of who we are and our primary partner, Geotab. We'll jump into a review and overview of the Flex Asset Tracker. We'll provide a demonstration of the asset tracker for you. And then we'll switch gears into the TempTrac solution, which is targeted primarily for trailers, straight vans, and monitoring temperature in vehicles remotely. We'll provide a demo of that solution as well. Brian will be providing the demonstrations for us here today. And as noted, we'll spend a good amount of time on answering all the questions that and any questions that you might ask today. Next up, though, a quiz. So this is going to come up on your screen here in a moment for you to answer. And first question, true or false? Cargo theft in North America rose 15% in 2022 compared to 2021. And question two, what was the average value of cargo stolen in a theft in 2022? And this one is a multiple choice, 50,000 US, 125,000 US, 215,000 US dollars, or 400,000 US dollars. The responses are coming in quickly. We'll give it another minute or so. It's been open for 30 seconds. I think we'll give it to the top of the minute. And then we'll reveal the answers. Looks like the majority of the answers are in. So I think we can end the poll, Julie, and we'll go to the answers for you. So the answers, true or false, cargo theft in North America rose 15%. This is true. And wow, we have a smart bunch on the call today. It was 100%. Everyone got that one right. And on the second question, the average value of cargo stolen in a theft, yeah, the majority of you got that one right, 38% of the group here, and it was 215,000 USD worth of goods per theft. And this is sourced through CargoNet 2002 Supply Chain Risk Trends. So with that, we're going to jump into a bit about us. So we have quite a few customers and partners on the call, so this might be a little repetition, but for those who are just meeting us, we have been focused in this sector helping fleets and operators of fleets manage their businesses and their fleets more efficiently, more safely, and in compliance with a number of regulations since 2005. And our focus is ensuring that we're helping our clients unlock the power and the really the broad feature set of the tools that we provide our clients through Geotab and others that we'll be reviewing today. We're very, very proud of the fact that we've maintained a 98% client retention rate for all the years we've been measuring this for the last, long as Brian and I have been around here for the last 8 or 9 years. And our approach is through our dedicated customer success managers for clients of all size to spend that dedicated time in training, consulting, and guidance to get the most value out of these solutions and understand what they can do and what they can't do so that the right expectations are set. We operate in French and English, so we do support our clients across Canada, and we are quite proud to be recognized as one of Geotab's top value-added resellers globally. A little bit about our primary technology partner, Geotab. Geotab has been ranked now 3 years running by ABI Research, the #1 worldwide commercial telematics provider. And they are operating a technology that I always like to say is the most flexible and extendable telematics platform in the industry. And it's great to see that ABI Research agrees with that statement. The product is highly secure. Their Geotab Go 9 and platform and the Go device itself is one of the only in the industry to meet the FIPS 140-2 certification, which is relative to cryptology and the security of the data being transmitted from your vehicles. Geotab is an ISO 27701 certified company and boasts over 3.2 million units in service. So this is an industry leader with the Geotab telematics platform. And the nice thing with Geotab is many of you on the call may be familiar with my Geotab, the Go 9, and the core Geotab offering. That extendable and extensible component is where we'll be focusing today with asset trackers and temperature tracking that's tightly integrated with the Geotab platform. So with that, we're going to jump right into the Flex Solar Asset Tracker and really what is an asset tracker. So the asset tracker is a powered device where a Go 9 is relying on the power provided by a tractor or a powered unit. The asset trackers are self-powered through battery and other sources, in this case, a solar panel to maintain the battery power of that unit. The device does have a GPS sensor. It does have a cellular modem. These are similarities to Go 9 such that the device is able to record and transmit real-time location. So this is fantastic application for trailers, containers, other assets we'll speak to, and will provide you GPS location, speed of the assets, battery level percentage to be able to remotely manage the health of the assets and the tracking tools. As well as an odometer, quote unquote. The device does record the distance that the devices have traveled. This is one of the nice features of this asset tracker particularly. There is frequent enough data when in motion that it is able to accrue that odometer for you, which is a really helpful tool. And this asset tracker is also solar powered with a very, very robust construction. We've had a lot of success with these. We've deployed hundreds of these across Canada in some of the harshest environments in Fort McMurray, and have been exceedingly impressed with the resilience of these devices and the ability of the devices to maintain functionality through all seasons, which is important. One of the things our clients tell us they love about Geotab devices is once you install them, you can forget about them. And we've tested a lot of asset trackers in the past until finding the Flex. We didn't feel the same comfort, and with the Flex, we do feel the comfort that this is a device that can be installed and consistently provide you that data. Some applications for solar trackers. So where can you use these? Trailers is a very common application. Certainly, dry vans and trailers that do not have any onboard power would be a fantastic application for these units. Yellow iron, containers, generators, pumps, ferries. We have one customer operating one of these on a ferry to be able to record location of the ferry and count crossings. Garbage bins, construction site trailers, or even if you're looking for a quick to deploy location tracker without the install of a Go9, a Flex Asset Tracker is a fantastic solution for that purpose. The installation is very straightforward. The devices do ship with self-tapping screws. They can be installed with a 3M adhesive. They are recommended to be mounted outside for that contractor application where you may want a quick deploy GPS asset tracker. It will function sitting on a dash, but it will not charge through the windshield of the unit. So for long-term deployments, mounting exterior where the device can directly reach the sun, or the sun rather can directly reach the solar panel, is recommended. Some of the benefits and the benefits that the asset trackers can provide would be measuring the utilization of your assets. What we hear from a lot of clients who are, say, tracking their powered assets and then choose to deploy flex asset trackers for bins or trailers is that there's typically quite a big investment made in these assets, and the knowledge of their whereabouts and also how often they are being used to be able to make best use of those assets is let's say there's area for opportunity. Clients find and are able to take advantage of better maximizing the use of their assets when they can very easily locate the assets. Reducing costs by moving to predictive maintenance. Trailers are expensive assets, and like powered units, they require preventative maintenance on bearings, brake systems, lights, anything of that nature. And while the Geotab platform will support doing a DVIR, a circle check to be able to have an operator record defects, that's a very reactive solution. The benefit of these devices capturing the odometer and the distance traveled by the asset to which the asset trackers are fixed is really, really beneficial to be able to set up preventative maintenance rules in Geotab to define when those bearings should be assessed, or those brakes, or those tires in a proactive and to manage your PM resets ultimately, leveraging these tools. Being able to find your trailers and your assets a lot faster really speaks to that utilization component. And these devices, as you'll see in the demonstration upcoming here from Brian, report directly in Geotab as if it were a Go device. So all of those tools of Geotab that Geotab provides, the richness of that software to create geofences, create zones so you can be alerted when a unit leaves, or be able to support understanding the operation of your assets, is fully supported with these devices inside my Geotab. I spoke to that quick deployment option, which is really, we have quite a few clients leveraging that functionality, and really can't say enough about how easy these devices are to install. It's just a few steps of removing a cover off the solar panel, pressing a button, and affixing it to the asset, and you're pretty much off to the races at that point. So very, very easy to install these devices. One of the key components of any powered asset tracker is the battery, the reporting frequency, and how the health of that battery is maintained. And this is one of the wonderful features of the Flex Asset Tracker. It does have a high capacity lithium ion battery that, if left alone with no charging, would give you about 4 months of service with a few reports a day. but I'll take you through this chart to describe the automatic dynamic tracking that the Flex Solar asset tracker follows. So and I'll point to this column is really the key to start from. When the device is anywhere above a 60% battery percentage, it is going to operate under its normal conditions, which means automatically when stationary, every 4 hours, it will take a GPS location record and report that, that location to my geotab. When moving, and the device has sensors that is assessing the movement of the device, it will record the location every 1 minute and then report that data to my geotab every 10 minutes. Now, in order to conserve battery power, as if the battery does go below that 60%, you can see the automatic and dynamic changes that are made to those reporting frequencies, both on the stationary and the moving. And anything, between 60% and 15%, you will still receive location just with reducing intervals. Now, the great news in our practical experience helping clients with this product is that even, we had a client in Fort McMurray using one of these asset trackers through the cold of winter in Fort McMurray on a trailer. And the battery percentage never dropped below 60%, even in those harsh conditions that are toughest on a battery and also toughest for, solar power, so to speak. So, the majority of our clients, when the devices are installed correctly with access to solar to light, are operating in this normal condition. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic to my partner in crime here, Brian, to take us through a demonstration of the Flex Asset Tracker. Brian.
Awesome. Thanks, Dwayne. I think before I jump in, I do actually have the asset tracker. So this is actually the real thing. We don't actually have a real trailer that we could do the demo on. So this has been strapped to the roof of one of my vehicles for the past week or so. So as Dwayne said, it's very, very, the form factor is very consistent with what you saw in the picture, and the solar area is quite large, so it does really have a very strong and useful battery. But let me share a few things. Dwayne, if I can get you just to stop sharing for a half a second.
Absolutely.
Really what I want to spend a few minutes is just sort of showing a little bit about kind of how the system works and what it looks like inside of Geotab. And really for everybody on the call who's familiar with Geotab, this is all going to look very, very, very familiar. And that was really to Dwayne's point earlier. Once you have the equipment installed and added inside your My Geotab database, you'll see that it operates and works just like any Go device. So you'll see our office yard as I've listed as a yard here. And I'm going to show you just a couple of quick things about how it looks inside of the system. As you can see, we've got a couple of units here, our Flex demo. And I just want to show really briefly from the vehicle side. So for those familiar with My Geotab and how you add and manage your assets, this looks just like any other asset that you would add and create. The only difference is the serial number. Serial number might look a little different down here than what most people will look like, but everything else about this screen is going to look exactly the same, and all of the other features and functions that are available to users of Geotab are available for your Flex device. And probably one of the most common things that Dwayne alluded to and we mentioned was the use of the geofences, or zones as they're called inside of My Geotab. So one of the things that we set up for the demo here is showing what happens when you can zone off various points of interest, whether they be your office location, your yard for your trailers or your equipment, maybe customer locations, customer delivery locations. And in a very similar way you can with your Geotab device, you can very easily set up rules and show when your Flex devices are entering or leaving those rules, those zones. So let me just show you that very quickly. For those of you familiar with the Geotab rules engine, probably the most powerful part of the My Geotab application. And I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom here and see all the built-in rules. And then you'll see that we've created a bunch of custom rules. And I pretended that we were in the business of having trailers moving in and out of client locations. And this rule would work for a vehicle, it would work for an asset, it would work for a trailer, really any device inside the Geotab system. So we're really going to trigger anytime we are entering or leaving yards. So you can see I've created a bunch of different rules for when I'm entering either a company yard or a client yard, or when I'm leaving a company yard or leaving a customer's yard. And this is a very common sort of request that we have from our clients who have a lot of trailers, and they want to know when their vehicles and when their trailers are entering and leaving those areas. So I'm just going to show you a very simple exception report. I'm going to grab my Flex device and come down and select my rules, and you can see I've got an opportunity to choose a multiple different rules. So I'm going to choose all 4 of these rules and show. Basically, this allows me to see all of the details of when that particular Flex device entered and left any particular yard. And so as I move through and as clients move through and create those various points of interest, just like they would with their Go device, just like it'll work for the Flex device, you can very easily see the information coming and going in and out of those yards. So that exception reporting is very critical and very, very useful for our clients. And as I expand out, I can actually see the details of each one of those exceptions, and I can see exactly where that rule was generated. And this can be very helpful if you're trying to locate not only where your trailers are, but how often they were entering or leaving specific points of interest. And obviously trailer yards are a very common area. One other key thing that Dwayne mentioned and he showed on the slide was really talking about the robustness of the Flex's battery and sort of the information that it can provide. So one of the things that we spent a lot of time when we first started working with the Flex devices, we really wanted to understand and believe that the battery was going to be robust and was going to work and sustain itself within our harsh Canadian environment, and even into harsh environments in the southern parts of the US, whether it be incredibly warm or incredibly cold environments. So one of the things that we have available to us is through the Flex device. Just like you would with any Go device, you have a variety of engine measurement data that's available to you. And Dwayne talked about how often that information would be reported to you. I'm just going to show you a sample of what it looks like today for the Flex, and you can see we get a fair bit of information directly from the Flex. And one of the most interesting things that we were spending a lot of time researching was battery level. And as you may see here, the Flex unit will not only report its location, but it will also report information about its current status. And battery level was something that was really important to us and to a lot of the clients when we were first testing the product. So not only can we report on the battery level, if it was important to you or any client, we can actually then build a rule in the same way that I showed you earlier, that you can keep an eye on the battery level and actually keep and have an alert sent to anybody within your organization if the battery level dropped below a certain level. So again, I think the key messages that I wanted to share when we showed the product today was really for those who are using groups, zones, rules, all of those core features of My Geotab work perfectly well with the Flex device. And there's really no difference. There's nothing new you need to learn. You've already learned that software. And if you already know how to use those tools, using it with your Flex device is really simple. So yeah, so that's a couple of quick minutes on the Flex. Dwayne, anything I missed before we jump back?
No, it's a fantastic demonstration. Thank you, Brian. I think that you hit the key point that really it's the, the strength of what's a really tried and tested piece of equipment that, is going to allow you to leverage all of the valuable tools in My Geotab that you may already be using, or hopefully you're working with NBI and one of our customer success managers to help you take advantage of those features. Yeah, things like utilization reporting that you may be using already for your powered assets. It's just a matter of pointing the group of your trailers or flex asset tracker connected assets to, and you can leverage all the same reporting and tools that you're using currently.
All right, I'm going to hand it back to you, Dwayne.
Fantastic, thank you. And I will. Okay, can you see my screen? Wonderful. Okay, so it is time for another quiz. So Julie's going to open up the quiz portal in Zoom here in a moment, and the questions are: one, true or false? The refrigerated truck market is expected to grow to 13.9 billion by 2030. True or false? And second question, what product is causing the growth in the refrigerated truck market? Medication, packaged food, e-commerce portals, or all of the above? And the answers are flying in at the moment. We'll give it another 10 seconds or so. And it looks like we have the majority of the answers in. Let's close the question period. And again, we have a very smart bunch here. You folks aced it. The first question being true or false, the truck market's expected to grow to 13.9 billion US dollars by 2030. That is correct. The market is estimated to grow at about 11.8% compound annual growth rate. And in terms of the specific products driving that growth, yeah, 80% of you were spot on this one. It's all of the above. So increased demand and consumption of medication, packaged food, and e-commerce are really driving this growth. So there is a lot, maybe a number of you on the phone involved in helping transport some of these goods to market. And this is our not so subtle segue into temperature monitoring. Now, the product that we're going to speak about here today is called the Valor TempTrac, and this is a product that we've been working with for 5 or so years, I would say. You know, as we described with the Flex Asset Tracker at NBI, you know, there's a lot of products in the marketplace. We're really driven by looking at challenges and opportunities that our clients have, and then really being very, very mindful and intentional, very deliberate in testing and validating that the products we choose to sell and support for our clients meet those needs well. And we're excited to for 5 years be presenting and providing the Valor solution to our clients. This solution is a wireless temperature sensor, or sensors, I should say. The standard kit does come with 2 sensors to support 2 zones, and is typically placed in your refrigerated trailers or compartments. And it does connect to the Geotab Go device through an IOX harness. This product is used today and trusted by some of North America's top grocers. And it is gathering second-by-second temperature data and transmitting it via a transceiver to the Go device. And one of the things that's, you know, similar to the description on the Flex Asset Tracker is this is just another data collection tool. This one connects through the Go device, and then all of the data is stored in Geotab databases and is leveraged right inside my Geotab using features that you would be familiar with, or Brian will demonstrate for us here today. So moving on to some more of the specifics of how this solution works. The sensor or sensors, again, the kit comes with a standard of 2 sensors. They would be installed in the zones of your reefer. This image is of a straight truck. It's also, there's a configuration that supports standalone reefer trailers as well. There is a transceiver. This is capturing that wireless temperature data and transmitting it via an IOX CAN. It's an auxiliary cable to the Go device. And then the Go device is taking that data and transmitting not just the location of, in this case, the straight truck, but it is recording all of that temperature data as engine measurements, and then reportable directly in my geotab. So these devices are monitoring temperature changes within 0.1 degrees Celsius. Of course, my geotab allows support for Celsius and Fahrenheit readings, so you're not we're as Canadians, we're working in Celsius, but we support both, and geotab of course supports both units of measure. The devices will record the temperature in my geotab every 5 minutes, and this is a unique feature. My geotab typically applies the curve logic to all data streams flowing through the Go device. It is a unique parameter that gets applied to the Go device to ensure that the data is being recorded every 5 minutes in my geotab. The devices, and these being the wireless temperature sensors, have a 5 to 7 year battery life. These transceivers will support up to 4 zones. So even though a kit comes with 2, you could have 4 zones communicating through one transceiver. And then leveraging the tools that Brian demonstrates of the rules engine, you can configure in my geotab the solution to send you instant emails and alerts of any problematic changes in temperature. And this solution is really targeted to promoting food safety and ensuring that you have record of the safety and the temperature of that good through the supply chain ultimately. The one item I will share is the configuration of this. You're seeing this image for a straight truck. If it is a trailer that you're operating, the kit does come with a weatherproof box that encases the geotab Go device, the IOX CAN, and the transceiver. So working with our clients who may have a mixed fleet of trailers, if you have reefer trailers with power on board and a requirement for temperature sensors, we may recommend a Go device with this Valor temperature solution. And then your dry vans that don't have power, but you do need that asset location, we may recommend the Flex, which we spoke to today. And the products work interchangeably very, very well. So I'm moving on to a demonstration. Brian, would you like to take the reins and give us a little demonstration of the Flex asset track, or the Valor temperature tracker?
Yeah, we have a lot of products on the go here today.
Indeed.
Thanks, Dwayne. Let me jump in and show a little bit about what this looks like inside of my geotab. Okay, my screen's visible there, Dwayne?
Yes, it is. Yep.
All right. So I guess maybe to start with for this demo, unfortunately, we don't have a refrigerated trailer or a straight truck. So for the purpose of our demo, we actually had installed the Valor unit inside one of the vehicles of one of our team members. So the temperatures that you will see here should alarm you if you're familiar with refrigerated vehicles, because this is not a refrigerated vehicle. So what I want to show, in addition to kind of what Dwayne talked about briefly, I just want to talk a little bit about, in addition to some of the data that will come directly through the geotab, the Valor team also has a separate add-in that we can add into your geotab database for you. And as you can see, this unit here has a little bit of a red blinking icon above it. This add-in is free and can be used by clients. Some of our clients do use it regularly. Some clients prefer just to use the data that's being pulled in directly. But basically what it does allow you to do is look at a couple things very quickly. It does provide a visual alert on the map, and you can sort of mouse over and kind of see some information about that zone. And if I open this little side panel, you're actually going to see some information about the zone and what the temperature reading is inside of that zone. As Dwayne mentioned, the standard kit from the Valor team comes with two transmitters. We only have one installed in the demo unit that we're using, which is why you only see Zone 1 listed here. It's a little bit warm inside of the vehicle right now, so if you had anything refrigerated there, you definitely would be being in a bit of a problem. Uh, but just to give you a sense for that, information is available directly to users directly on the map in a very quick and visual way. Um, and then in addition to that, let me just show you the, the Spartan. This is the actual full add-in. And this is actually also available and comes with the product and allows you to look at some additional information. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this information, and you can see kind of the same information before. It's basically showing me what the current zone 1 temperature is. If there was multiple zones being displayed here, you would actually be able to go ahead and see all of the zones listed here, and that gives you some additional information. If there's if you want to get additional details of kind of the history, you can actually pull a bit of a report, and I can actually show these results. Let me see if I can show it as a graph. And it'll actually show me what the temperature was for that particular Valor unit over the time period that's selected. So this can be really handy when you're just doing a quick dive into a particular unit, and you want to really understand kind of what you're seeing going on inside of that Valor unit. And again, this is all part of the Valor add-in that comes with the product. And is free to use. Some of our clients choose to use the Valor, the Spartan Link tools, as you see here. Some prefer to just go ahead and incorporate the power of Geotab in all the rules and exceptions and groups and zones that we talked about earlier. So like we talked about briefly with the Flex Asset Tracker, I can actually go ahead and build rules and trigger information to alert different people inside my organization based on that equipment. So similar to, I'm going to just scroll down to these rules here. You may have seen these two at the bottom when I was showing you earlier. So these were a couple of little sample rules that we set up that I can actually use the information from the Valor unit to actually say, if we're seeing a temperature in zone, in this case, zone 1, that's under 20 degrees, then I should flag that exception. And again, I can build those rules in a pretty variety of ways with a lot of power. And I think I see a few questions flowing in around that, and we'll certainly talk to those. But you have a fair bit of flexibility. And for those of you who are familiar with the rules-based engine inside of my Geotab, you can actually incorporate a lot of conditions around those rules and based on groups and types of vehicles and duration of activity. But just to give you a sense that just like we could with the Flex Asset Tracker, I can just use the engine data itself to build those rules, and then I can actually go ahead and build exception reports based on that. So I'm going to go ahead and look at last week, for example, and I'm going to choose my Valor unit, and I'm going to go ahead and choose those rules that I flagged earlier. And again, when I run this very quick exception report, you can see that we can get some very specific details of how often that particular rule was broken. And not only can I do that, but I can actually go in and start seeing specifically the details of where that rule was broken and for how long it was broken for. So this can actually be really, really helpful if you're in that business where you need to be able to validate and prove when the temperature on a particular unit was reporting or not reporting. And again, this can then also be turned into broader based My Geotab reporting, and can be turned into something that's put on your dashboard and used in all of the other reporting that you may be already familiar with today. So pretty helpful and integrated very nicely with inside the My Geotab application. So again, for those of you who are already familiar with My Geotab, leveraging the Valor tool is actually very easy to learn because the data is already inside of Geotab, and it works with all of the tools that you already have. Lastly, I did want to show briefly the engine measurements associated with, so you can actually see the level of detail. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the Valor unit, and there's a whole bunch of engine data available for those of you who may be familiar with this, and we would certainly show you all of this information as part of the implementation when we help onboard and get you up to speed. So as you can see, there's four. I can report on the specific 4 zones, and I'm just going to select them all, even though we've only got the one zone. And this is just for today, but you can see here that we have very detailed information showing all of the temperatures for this particular unit as reporting. And then this information is then available to be exported and used in a variety of ways to suit your business. The most common application that I hear from clients who I work with on this product is they'll often use this level of detail if they're really doing trying to understand what happened for a particular unit and maybe why the temperature was or wasn't reporting as expected. So as you can see, you're going to get very granular data. But the part that Dwayne and I really wanted to emphasize here today is that the information is really built directly inside of My Geotab. It's available to you as engine measurement data, and then fits in all your existing rules and all of the other tools and functions that are available to you. All right, Dwayne, I wanted to keep it short and sweet so we could have lots of time for questions. Anything I missed? Oh, I think you're on mute, Dwayne.
Happens once every meeting, I always say. No, I think you covered it well, Brian. Thank you very much. And yeah, there have been a number of questions coming through. Let me just get back to sharing my screen for a moment.
Yep. Go ahead.
Perfect. Okay. So yes, that concludes the demonstration. And again, Brian, thank you for taking us through that. There are quite a few questions coming in, so perhaps what I'll do is I'll cover some of those that I've answered here, and then you know, Brian, let's sort of go back and forth on these. So the a couple questions that have been posed and answered already. So what are the best ways to track unique assets, trailers, airplanes, motorcycles, etc.? So really for powered assets, our recommendation would typically be a Geotab Go or Go Rugged device versus a Flex. The reason for this, if you have power on board the device, the Geotab devices use that curve logic, so they'll give you the most frequent data. They can rely upon the power of that asset. If there's an engine diagnostic port on that vehicle, you're gathering that data as well. So a lot of benefits as well. The assets, the Go devices are a little less expensive than a Flex with the battery and solar panel. But for non-powered assets, where that's not an option, we recommend the Flex. Another question here. Is there a way, and do you want to take this one, Brian? Is there a way to record the temperature of the pavement for the snow plowing industry?
I almost got caught in a Dwayne.
Close.
Yeah, great question. So the short answer is not with the products that we've been showing here today, but the answer is yes. So Geotab does support collection of road temperatures through a couple of products, and the most common product that we see in the customers that we work with is a product called Roadwatch. It's not sold by Geotab or MBI directly. It's sort of a third-party product used very heavily in the public works space, but it can connect to a product we demoed in a previous session called the IOX Works cable. It's part of Geotab's overall public works solution. And if you connect those two things together, which is actually a very easy connection install, you can actually pull that road data through your Roadwatch system directly into your Geotab solution and have it available for use with the rest of your public works solution. And there are a few other products that Geotab supports as well, but certainly Roadwatch is the one that I'm most familiar with.
Yeah, and one similarity would be is it would also record in My Geotab as engine measurement data. So a lot of the same functionality that Brian described would exist around rules or working with the reporting. I have another question for you, Brian. So if the unit, this being the TempTrac unit, has a 5 to 7 year life, does the unit have a changeable battery, or would the answer be to replace the TempTrac sensor?
Yeah, so the answer is the unit would need to be replaced. We've seen in sort of real time that it tends to be closer to the 7 year than the 5 year. So we haven't actually run into a client who's actually had a battery fail on them yet. But the units would need to be replaced, and that would just be the transmitter piece. And we've been able to usually work with the supplier to get good pricing on those replacement units.
Excellent. Okay. We had a question from Lockwell's here around whether the TempTrac solution includes a dashboard to track the temperature history, and also how does this integrate with Azure? So the answer there is yes, and hopefully you saw a bit of that in the demonstration from Brian. The GeoTab dashboard could be configured with a report, or the reports can be configured for set time ranges. The data is stored in the MyGeotab database as engine measurement data. So this is all available to you through MyGeotab, but also through the GeoTab SDK as engine measurement data. So that would be the programmatic way to get the data out to integrate with other platforms or products. So let us know if you have any further questions on that one. Will asset trackers show on the MyGeotab map? And that is a yes. The Flex asset trackers will show up on the MyGeotab map alongside your Go devices, as well as in the trips history. So that's a really nice feature. You're working in the same portal, the same view. So question here from Ellen. So Valor TempTrac tracker can hook up to Flex for battery instead of Reefer. So it is, I guess, a good clarification here. The Valor is engineered to connect to the GeoTab Go devices, not the Flex. So, back to one of the earlier Q&As we gave here, in our experience, our recommendation is on reefer trailers, cooler trailers, heater trailers. These assets have batteries on board. So the GeoTab Go or Go Rugged devices would be the recommendation, leveraging Valor. And then the unpowered assets, we'd recommend the Flex. We have another one here. If a trailer is not in use or empty, is there an easy way to turn off the alerts, possibly through the online exception rule or by a physical switch? So there's a number of options that are afforded by the features of GeoTab. We would recommend that you maybe turn on and off those alerts via adding the trailers to a group of active trailers or inactive, or excluding a particular yard from the rule if that is an area that you're storing trailers that are not actively holding refrigerated or temperature controlled goods. What else we have with the Go device connected to the Reaper? Is it possible to get error codes from the computer the same as the trucks? Brian, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So typically the short answer in this one typically would be no. For most of the trailers, when we're connecting, if it's a refrigerated trailer, the Go device is going to be connected to the refrigerated unit, the actual cooling unit, through a 3-wire install. So there wouldn't be any data to pull in that way. For a straight truck that may be connected to its Go device through a diagnostic port, typically the information from the control unit itself that actually is controlling the refrigerated unit does not transmit through the Go device and is not available through the vehicle's engine diagnostic port, so it wouldn't normally be available to GeoTab.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Another one for you. What are the lead times looking like for both these products?
Yeah, great question in this time of challenge with the post-pandemic lead time. So the good news is for both Valor and Flex, the lead times have been really good the last few months. As I would say to anybody on my team, check back with me in a week or two. But we haven't seen any issues with lead times for the Valor unit. Really in the last 18 months, it's been very consistent. Typical ship times for orders under 100 units have typically shipped in less than 2 weeks. For the Flex, there was a bit of a hiccup middle of last year where it was a little bit delayed, but the units have been very solid since then, and we haven't seen any significant delays. Again, everything's been shipping within 2 weeks.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brian. Another question here, is there a way to add a minimum time to a rule before it sends an alert? And this would be relative to Valor data, i.e. don't send an alert unless the temperature stays above 8 degrees for more than 30 minutes. And I can tackle that one to happily share. Yes, that's possible through the rules engine. The GeoTab rules engine allows you to apply time durations, and that would be the methodology to achieve that functionality. Next question we have here is, if a reefer shuts off because it ran out of fuel, will the Go device continue to run and send reports from the reefer battery power until it dies? Brian, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, essentially the answer is it depends. The unit will continue to report as long as the Go device has power. So as long as the Go device has power, the Valor unit will keep reporting. I would say I'm certainly not an expert on all refrigerated makes and models, but if the refrigerated unit is still powered and thus is giving power to the Go device, then the Go device will still be able to report. So the short answer is yes, but it would also be it depends on how the power works on that particular model. But based on what I see here in the question, the answer would be yes.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brian. We had another question here. If you have Valor, do you still need Flex? And just another clarification on this point again, if you have Valor, you should be pairing it with a Go device. The Flex devices, again, are recommended for those unpowered trailers and assets. The next question here from Mark, how does the Flex track hours? Is it based on ignition input or similar? So Brian, do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, absolutely. As Dwayne mentioned earlier in the presentation, there is a concept of hours and odometer, and we use I'm using my quotey fingers here because there's obviously no physical odometer on the device, but built directly into the Flex device is a motion sensor, and there's a variety of sensors obviously, but that sensor, when it detects motion, that motion detection will essentially be recorded inside of my GeoTab as ignition on, and that's sort of certainly the engine measurement that they use. And so that engine measurement is then sort of used to count sort of operational hours, and then begins basically the way that GeoTab will then capture distance as well. So that's sort of how the GeoTab, or how the Flex unit sort of replicates the concept of operational hours and distance.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. So we have 8 minutes and we have 10 open questions. So let's see how we can do here, Brian. Do we want to start at the top? And so the first question here, would the tracked trailers still be able to attach using GeoTab Drive application for drivers under the ELD mandate? Will it show the closest tracked asset to the driver? And I think this is relative to Flex, or I suppose Go 9 equipped reefers, from a trailer perspective. Do you want to tackle this one, Brian?
Yeah, so from a short, any trailer that you have defined in your MyGeoTab database, whether it has a separate Flex or Go device, as Dwayne said, would be available for selection by the driver using GeoTab Drive. So that's the good news is it would be available. The additional benefit is if you have a Flex or a Go device or have other information, it just gives you even additional information. So as long as it's defined as a trailer inside of GeoTab or MyGeoTab, it'll be available to your driver inside of GeoTab Drive.
Fantastic. Next one from Paul, is there any specific material that could possibly interfere with the Flex device reporting, like steel or other sorts of material? Yeah, so certainly, if you installed it in a lead box, it would not report. That's for certain, for sure. So the recommendation, like any Go devices obviously get installed under the dash, they still communicate. So it doesn't need to have direct line of sight. GPS and cellular communication will penetrate some materials. But certainly if you're installing it in a container, we'd recommend installing it on the exterior of the container. And particularly for charging, mounting with line of sight to the sky would be always recommended. So really, we'd probably want to look at the specific application that you're considering and would recommend testing if, if we're unsure. That would be our recommendation. So I'll pose this one for you, Brian. So, we have pretty expensive specialized equipment that we'd like to track. I don't think it gets outside very often. Would the Flex work okay with that kind of thing? If not, are there other solutions for keeping track of tool-like equipment?
Yeah, great question. So certainly the Flex device that we were showing today and demonstrating is really it's solar powered, so it does need and require kind of to be outside to obviously to power up and charge. There are other potential options that we may have for you. So I'd say that might be one we want to talk about specifically with you and see what options may fit best. Obviously, for tool-like equipment, it would depend on obviously the size of the equipment. The Flex unit itself is about as big as my head. So depending on how big your tools, that may be an option for you. But there may be some other options that we could discuss with you as well. And I think one other question just above that, I think somebody's wondering about the lifespan of the Flex of the battery. So I guess at the end of the day, it's sort of like LED lights. I haven't actually seen any fail yet. I haven't seen a battery fail because of age. So now we've been working with the product for about 5 years. So I would say it's at least 5 years, but in reality, I have not seen a Flex battery fail so far in the operation that we've worked with.
Yeah.
But I don't know actually if there's a specific lifespan that's been published by the Flex team. We'll see if we can dig that up.
Yeah, fantastic. We have a question here around comparison of Flex units compared to a Go Rugged. This individual is starting to implement Go Rugged devices on a trailer fleet, but might want to consider a Flex could be a better solution. Curious about adding additional inputs to the Flex. Do you want to tackle this one, Brian?
Yeah, great question. So, the short answer is the Flex unit that we look at and typically sell is really best for those sort of non-powered assets. There is one model of the Flex unit that does have some limited inputs, but probably not in the way that was, I think, being considered here in this solution. If you have heavy duty vehicles and you think a Go Rugged might be a good option, one of the great things about the Go Rugged is there is additional auxiliary inputs that can be pulled in. So if you need to pull additional information from that vehicle, and the auxiliary input could be a variety of things, everything from a beacon light to a boom arm operation, PTO activation. Those are some of the things that a Go Rugged device would probably be a better fit for. But really, it's probably the best thing to do would be to connect with our team. We can start looking through your specific needs. The Flex, as Dwayne mentioned, is really great for a quick implementation when you really just need to know location. It's easy install and quick setup. So that's certainly its greatest advantages.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I'd say one of the other key differences is the Flex will report that location even when stationary. We have if these are unpowered trailers and you're connecting through a 3-wire harness, which is a little more of an involved install, you'll get that curve-based logic real-time data and location when the vehicle is plugged in to a powered asset. But when unplugged, it'll just show that last location. So we have some clients who are comfortable with that because who's going to tow a trailer without plugging it in? But if you do want that location data, even when unconnected to a powered asset, that is a consideration. But I agree with Brian's recommendation to connect with our team. We have 1 minute left. We'll try to get maybe one more question answered here, and then we'll wrap up and make sure we get all the answers out to everyone. Maybe we'll go with Phil's question. Are temp sensors capable of being submerged in liquid and tracking liquid temperatures? I think I'm stumped on this one, but Brian.
Yeah, great question. I think the answer is Probably not. So I can say that we've had a couple of clients who inquired about cleaning out the inside of their reefer trailers with pressure washers, and they were concerned that it could damage the sensors. And the question I got was, it's water resistant, not waterproof. So I think the answer is probably not. I don't think you would want to put this underwater or in liquid for any amount of time. But I've never been asked that specific question. But water resistant, I know for sure. Waterproof, I say probably not, but I will check. Great question, Phil.
Yeah, and we'll close the loop with you on that one regarding see if there's an application that'll fit for your needs there. So folks, we are right on the hour and we want to be really respectful of everyone's time. On behalf of myself, Brian, the team at NB, I really want to thank everyone for joining us today, spending the time to learn a bit more about these products and solutions. As always, you came with great answers and or great questions, and all had fantastic answers to our quizzes. So if you would like more in-depth information on your specific use case and application, please connect with us via the follow-up that we send or the website or any of the contacts you might have with the NBI team. We will be doing this draw for the Yeti water bottles very soon. And again, survey will follow. We appreciate your input. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon.